Imagine going on a trip with your sister. Things are going great. You're having a blast. You meet a guy. You guys go out to dinner a couple times. Like, things are going good. But then you find out that he was only feeding you so that you could feed him, literally. Story time. Let us begin. This is another story time that kept me awake at night, so you guys already know the drill. If I'm awake, you're awake. I also want to add that I'm resharing these stories just to spread awareness and ensure that women are just taking an extra step and being safe. I'm not saying that women should not solo travel and have fun on their own. It's just we have to be extra careful because this world is cruel. Okay, let's name the sisters Bella and Stacy. So Bella and Stacy are from America and they travel overseas to go on a vacation. I'm not really sure the place that they went, but they just wanted to enjoy life, okay? They were young, beautiful girls. So they're only there for a couple of days. So obviously they're going outside having fun. And Bella meets a guy named Nick on one of the days where she was at the bar. And they hit it off like they were having a blast. They were talking, vibing. Bella and Nick have gone on a couple of dates. Every single date has been them eating out. And Bella's noticing that he just wants her to eat. Like, he's really making sure that she's full. Me personally, I would love that because, oh, like, you want to make sure I'm well fed. No, it's a red flag now. On all these dates, he's been insinuating for her to come over to his house. And obviously, she didn't want to go over on the first couple of dates because she's like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to be easy. On the last day, he was pushing extra hard. He's like, oh, you should come over. Like, oh my God, it's your last day. Like, you need to come over. And she got creeped out. So he's pushing too hard for her liking. So she calls her sister Stacy and kind of fakes an emergency and goes the fuck home. That call that she made to her sister to go home saved her life. That was their last day on vacation. So they left, went back to America, and once she got to America, she felt this rash on her back. So she went to the dermatologist. It's so icky. She's obviously not thinking much of it. She just, gets her testing and lets the dermatologist know to let her know once there's any results and goes about her business, goes about her day. I forgot to mention that Bella is a university student, so she was on campus on her way to school, and her dermatologist calls her and says, listen, Bella, you need to come to my clinic right now. The police are here, and I cannot tell you this over the phone. So she goes. And when she gets there, she does not see the police. She sees the FBI. So she's obviously standing there like, what is going on? And her dermatologist lets her know that the rash on her back was by a cream that was used for cannibalism. Yeah, people who eat other people. So once Bella gave these people the details that they needed, they raided his apartment and found limbs and bones of missing women, whether it was tourists, women that were already from there, just missing women from months and years ago. He was going on dates with them, feeding them, which is why he was feeding Bella like that, because he wanted her to be nice and juicy for when he was about to eat her. So just please be safe when you go out there. Don't just trust anybody and go over to their homes, because he could really just oil you up, give you a nice oil massage so that your skin can disintegrate.
New fear unlocked for anyone dating. I was told the most insane story over the weekend. Of course, I have to share it with you. This story is about a friend of a friend of a friend. So I don't know who this is. Sorry if this is you. So this girl goes on a Tinder date and they vibe, get on really well, have a really good date. So she goes home with him and she spends the night. She obviously liked him and they had a bit of a connection and he seemed normal. Then a couple of days after the date, she starts to feel a little bit not right down there. So she goes to the doctor, obviously thinking, this guy's giving me something. So the doctor does some tests and gives her some antibiotics. A few days later, she gets a phone call from the doctor and he says, you need to come in ASAP. Obviously, she freaks out. Like, I would freak out. Like, what is this? So she goes back to the doctor. He sits her down and says, we need the details, the name, the number, the address, everything of the person that you slept with. You would literally be thinking, that's my dog. You would literally be thinking, what the hell is going on, right? So the doctor explains, we have found out what's going on down there and it's not your standard. And he proceeds to explain to her that she has bacteria down there and that bacteria can only be found one place. This is where my jaw dropped. That bacteria is only found inside dead bodies. I'll let you process that for just a second. So yeah, the guy had obviously with a dead body and then with her. I literally don't think I would get over this. So obviously the police got involved. He was investigated. Turns out that he did work somewhere that had access to dead bodies. I'm guessing a morgue. And he was arrested. And I think he's in prison. There are so many fears about dating, and this has just added to the list quite high up.
It's been about a year now since I went on a date with this guy who on the second date told me that he kills children. So now that it's been a year, I feel comfortable talking about it. So get ready with me while I tell you the story. So I meet this guy on Hinge at the time, I believe it was, and he's biracial, and then on the first date he ends up telling me that he's bisexual. So I'm like, yes. And like the first date was so cute also. Like we went to a sushi place and then we went back to his place and like went in his pool. And this man was also very rich. Like he lived in a 4-story freaking like condo. I don't even know what. Like I was just like, whoa, you really have a lot going on. He had like a Tesla and everything. I was like, damn, okay. Like I am in it. Like I'm ready to be your wife. So then the second date rolls around and I go back to his place and we're hanging out, have a good time. We, you know, do the deed. And it was great. It was fantastic. However, immediately after the fact, we're laying in the bed and I'm just making casual conversation with him because what else am I gonna do? I like to ask people like, oh, what are your flaws? Because I just think it's interesting to hear people's responses and like how they kind of perceive themselves. And he is completely deadpan, no like emotional whatever. He goes, oh, I kill people. And my first thought is, kill who? I'm in your rich ass house, and if something goes down, like I feel like this man has enough money to like make me go away. Do you know what I mean? So I was like scared. So out of my natural instinct, I was like, oh, like who do you kill? And again, he's serious and like I'm kind of serious because I just like said it more casually because he was being casual. And so I go, oh, who do you kill? And because I'm hoping to God he's not going to say he's about to kill me. And he goes, oh, children. Completely serious. Oh my God, I look so crazy. Hold on. So he says it completely serious. And so at this point, I have more questions. So I go, where do you get them? Where do you get these kids? Because I don't know. I was nervous and I wanted to know. Because I literally was like, well, if you're killing them, like, where do you get them? And he goes, oh, from anywhere. Anywhere? Whatever. So then I was out of questions. I just like didn't know what to say. And at that point, because he didn't like break character, he didn't say like, oh, I'm joking. He didn't smile. He did nothing. I was the one that was like, oh, hi. So like, anyway, like, what are you up to later? Completely changed the subject because I was like, I'm so uncomfortable. Like, to be completely honest, I must have been digmatized because we ended up going to the dog park with his dog, and then I was gonna go to a movie with him after this. I was still ready to hang out with him after this. It like didn't click until after the fact. I was telling my brother, I was like, wait a minute. This guy like said this, like, isn't that weird? And he's like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? And I was like, holy shit, you're right. That's messed up. So I actually forgot we went on 3 dates. And on the second date, we went somewhere that was by my apartment. So I think he parked at my apartment and I drove us over there. So he knew where I live. I was like, I should call the police, but I also don't have any proof. Like, he didn't show me anything. Like, word of mouth, I don't think is like enough. And if I go to the police, they're gonna call him and then he's gonna know immediately where it came from. Like, unless he goes around telling everyone that he kills kids, which I highly doubt. Now I moved, so I could report it, but I don't know if it's grounds. Anyway, so after that, he ended up going on like a work trip to Australia for like 3 weeks or something like that. And we just did not talk until a couple months later, I post on my story because my friend is performing. I show up there and he's there, and I was like, oh fuck. And at this point I had told all my friends, like, oh my god, like the killer, that's so crazy. So when I show up there with my friends, I'm like, that's literally the killer. I'm hoping that he doesn't see me, but I'm tall, I'm 5'9", and I always wear like fucking stompers, okay? So obviously he's gonna see me. And he did. And he ended up coming over to me, and I'm like, yay, how's it going there, buddy? He's like, oh my gosh, hi, like, that's so great. And I was like, God, that's so crazy. Like, what are you doing here? And he was like, oh, I came to see you. Because he saw that I posted on my story. But I did remember after the fact that we were talking about like our hobbies, and he's like, yeah, I love like this one company that like puts on shows and stuff. And I was like, oh, I like didn't think anything of it. And then that was the...
So this guy invited me over for dinner at his place. And I got there and I got excited. I'm like, what are you making? Say I haven't eaten all day. And he said sausages. And I'm like, okay, that sounds pretty good. And he whipped out his waiter. It's on a plate.